The chapter begins with a close-up on the battered face of Riku Azumi, bloodied and looking up from the canvas after a brutal knockdown. Still on the canvas, the referee's count reaches 5. Riku internally acknowledges the power of his opponent's fists, realizing they're the caliber of someone who could take on the OPBF champion. From Riku's perspective on the floor, he stares up at his opponent, Hyodo. He recognizes these as the very fists that the renowned Tokugawa acknowledged, adding to Hyodo's fearsome reputation. A split panel captures the raw intensity of the moment. Riku and Hyodo, both bruised and bleeding, lock eyes in a tense stare-down, the air thick with hostility. The crowd erupts, shouting Hyodo's name. They are in disbelief at the power of the hit to Riku's temple and wonder if Hyodo is about to secure another knockout in the very first round. A confident, smug smile plays on Hyodo's lips. He internally gloats, thinking that, until now, no one has ever been able to get back up after receiving his devastating left triple hook followed by a right to the temple. Despite the brutal hit, Riku gets back on his feet. In his corner, his coach advises him to breathe and maintain his fighting stance, observing that Riku is surprisingly good at taking hits. Riku's eyes burn with determination. The referee signals for the fight to continue. Riku and Hyodo once again face each other in the center of the ring, ready to re-engage. Riku's inner thoughts reveal his strategy. He feels there's too much time left in the round to simply run. Instead, he decides it's the perfect opportunity to lure Hyodo in and land a powerful counterattack. Hyodo suddenly leaps in, throwing a punch with incredible speed. Riku manages to evade the attack, shocking Hyodo and the spectators in his corner. Hyodo looks on with a mix of surprise and intrigue. He acknowledges that Riku evaded his attack with impressive accuracy, complimenting his good intuition. Riku retaliates, landing a solid blow to Hyodo's face. As the punch connects, Hyodo thinks to himself, so these are Riku's instincts during a fight. Hyodo is taken aback. He feels that Riku's fighting style is totally different from what he expected. It's raw and unpredictable. From the audience, a spectator notes that while Riku was almost overwhelmed just moments ago, his brain has recovered and he's now fighting back fiercely. An experienced spectator comments that although Riku might be from a rundown gym, he has properly fortified the essentials, having clearly trained his semicircular canals for balance. His companion adds that the real fight is only just beginning. Another observer remarks on Hyodo's technique, noting how he properly shifts his weight and shows off his flexibility. In the ring, Riku is shown ducking under one of Hyodo's powerful hooks. The same observer warns that if Riku overlooks Hyodo's relentless barrage of punches, he'll find himself smacked down on the ground once again as he's caught in a flurry of blows. From Riku's point of view, the world blurs. He's dazed, looking up at Hyodo's fists raining down on him, struggling to defend himself against the onslaught. As another punch flies towards him, Riku sees it coming at him, seeming to get bigger and bigger. He realizes that Hyodo's fists are a totally different beast from anyone he has ever fought before. In that moment, Riku understands the source of Hyodo's absolute confidence. It's the unwavering belief in the overwhelming strength that everyone recognizes in his fists. With a surge of defiance, Riku counters, landing a devastating blow on Hyodo. He thinks to himself that his fists are the exact opposite of the little shit fists that Hyodo possesses. In the background, spectators watch in stunned silence. The tables have turned. To the absolute shock of the entire arena, Riku lunges forward and clinches with a stunned Hyodo. The crowd can't believe what they are seeing. Locked in a clinch, the two fighters struggle for position as the referee moves in to separate them. From the crowd, a woman anxiously shouts both of their names. In the intense proximity of the clinch, Hyodo leans in and whispers a chilling taunt to Riku. "You can hit me even harder, you know? Hit me with the intent to kill." As they break apart, their shadows stretch across the canvas. Riku stares coldly at Hyodo, his face a mask of intensity as he asks a chilling question. "Do you plan to die fighting me, Hyodo?" Before Hyodo can answer, the gong sounds, bringing the brutal first round to a close. The referee steps between the two bloodied and exhausted fighters, who continue to glare at each other, the tension between them unresolved as they head back to their corners. As Hyodo walks back to his corner, he looks at his bloodied glove. He feels that there's still some hidden nectar in Riku's fist that he has yet to taste, revealing his twisted desire for a true, brutal fight. In his corner, Hyodo's coach questions him, asking if he's just playing around and taking Riku's punches on purpose. Hyodo's internal thoughts confirm that his coach's suspicions are correct. Hyodo glances across the ring towards Riku's corner. He muses that the stronger he becomes, the more value there is in taking his opponent's hits, seeing it as a way to elevate himself to an even higher level. He vows to return the favor soon. The scene flashes back to the intense clinch at the end of the last round. Riku is wheezing heavily, completely exhausted, as Hyodo coldly taunts him to come at him with the intent to kill. Back in the present, Riku's team looks on with grave concern. His second notes that while Riku has done well, he's already completely worn out from fighting Hyodo. The coach, Baba, wonders what he's supposed to say to his fighter now. In a shocking move during the break, Riku's coach, Baba, suddenly jabs him in the face. It's a sharp, surprising blow meant as a harsh lesson. The audience and ringside observers are stunned, questioning if one of Riku's own seconds just punched him. Hyodo watches from his corner, calmly observing the strange scene unfold. Baba asks if the jab woke Riku up, explaining that you don't need strength for a proper jab. He reminds Riku that despite his age, he can still execute the technique perfectly. Riku realizes this is the very punch he has practiced the most. The lesson continues in what appears to be a flashback to an empty ring. Baba tells Riku that relying on the jab is especially important for a fighter as clumsy as him. The flashback deepens, showing Riku practicing endlessly outside his old home. Baba's voiceover reminds him how he ignored everything else to follow Kyosuke Takarazawa's instructions. 10,000 jabs every single day. Returning to the present, the second round begins. As the fighters meet again, Baba's final instruction echoes in Riku's mind. Devote yourself to your homework, the jab. Hyodo smirks, intrigued. He believes the flickering light he sees in Riku is a hidden potential, a nectar sleeping deep inside him, and he is determined to draw it out. With a crazed look in his eye, Hyodo desperately wants Riku to unleash his true power. His thoughts are a frantic plea. Hurry, give it to me. As round 2 commences, Hyodo rushes forward, but Riku, following his coach's advice, meets him with a perfectly timed, sharp jab to the face. Riku has changed his strategy completely. He follows up with another precise jab, and then another, snapping Hyodo's head back and stopping his forward momentum. The entire atmosphere of the fight has shifted. A wide view of the ring shows Hyodo still attacking relentlessly, but the commentators note that Riku is no longer engaging in a brawl, instead using only jabs to control the distance and stop Hyodo's advance. The spectators are confused by Riku's new approach, wondering if he's already tired. Across the ring, Hyodo is also perplexed, trying to figure out Riku's true aim. Hyodo wants to go back to the brutal exchange from the first round. However, Riku's coach observes that while his jabs aren't doing significant damage, they're successfully disrupting Hyodo's rhythm. Riku acknowledges to himself how incredibly strong Hyodo is. He compares him to a cheetah, a fighter blessed with natural intuition and a body honed by techniques learned from a very young age. Riku's mind races as he analyzes his opponent's formidable skill set. Hyodo can change his reach, rhythm, timing, and even the angles of his attacks at will. Feeling overwhelmed, Riku visualizes himself lost in a dense jungle, surrounded by multiple versions of Hyodo. He realizes that with so many attack patterns to deal with, his only option is to use his jab to try and gain ground. In a moment of intense focus, Riku sees a vision of his first mentor, Kyosuke Takarazawa, reinforcing the path he is on. This memory strengthens his resolve to rely on his foundational training. Riku throws another jab, connecting solidly. He reaffirms to himself that the jab is the only tool he can rely on in this overwhelming situation. As the punch lands, he remembers its origin. It was the very first thing Takarazawa ever taught him, what he called the weakest punch. A montage shows Riku's grueling, repetitive practice of the jab, the squeak of his shoes on the floor, a constant rhythm. He remembers his belief that if he just kept practicing this one move, he would become stronger. Riku's thoughts drift to a memory of seeing Hyodo walking with his mentor, Takarazawa. He reflects that despite all his rigorous training, he could never become a natural genius like Hyodo. As they trade blows, Hyodo's inner monologue takes a dark turn. He admits that he's jealous of Riku because his instincts are screaming at him that Riku has killed someone before. In the audience, Riku's friends from the gym watch with mounting tension. One of them shouts desperately for Hyodo to avoid Riku's relentless jabs. Riku lands another powerful jab, and this time, the impact is different. It's no longer just a punch. It's a blow overflowing with palpable killing intent. Then, the unexpected happens. Riku unleashes a stunning counterpunch that sends Hyodo stumbling backward, completely knocking him off balance. A new chapter of the fight has begun. Hyodo collapses to the mat. The entire arena is silent for a split second before erupting. Riku's coach, Baba, and his entire corner look on in absolute, wide-eyed shock. The referee begins the count as the audience screams in disbelief. Hyodo was downed, they shout. Even Riku looks stunned, a dazed expression on his face as he realizes this is the first time he's ever knocked down an opponent. A woman in the crowd, deeply connected to Hyodo, screams his name in despair and collapses to her knees, overcome with shock and horror. Hyodo's corner team vehemently protests, yelling at the referee that it was just a slip. But in Riku's corner, his coach Baba simply smirks, knowing it was a legitimate knockdown. As Riku wipes the sweat from his brow, his friends in the crowd can hardly process what happened, muttering that there's no way Hyodo could get down like that. The referee motions for the fight to continue. A seasoned spectator remarks that it doesn't matter whether it was a slip or a knockdown. All that matters is if Hyodo truly felt the power behind that punch. Hyodo rises with a terrifyingly intense look in his eye. With an unnerving calm, Hyodo slowly advances on Riku. The atmosphere in the ring grows heavy, crackling with a new, dangerous tension. Leaning in, Hyodo asks a question that cuts through the roar of the crowd. Why did you kill someone? He admits it's just a hunch, but one he's confident in, believing that those who have crossed that line can recognize each other. A symbolic image of a thistle appears, representing the thorny, painful nature of Riku's past that Hyodo is now sensing. As they exchange blows again, Hyodo thinks to himself that Riku's jabs wouldn't feel so heavy and impactful if they weren't filled with that overflowing nectar, that unmistakable killing intent. A close-up shows Hyodo gulping. It's an ambiguous reaction, a mix of feeling the pressure from Riku's assault and a twisted excitement from it. Riku, however, is completely baffled. He can feel his jabs landing, but he can't read Hyodo's expression at all. He realizes with confusion that Hyodo seems to be finding pleasure in being hit, showing absolutely no fear. While trading punches, Riku's mind is racing, unable to comprehend his opponent's reaction. What the heck is Hyodo feeling? He wonders in utter bewilderment. From the corner, Baba calmly instructs Riku to keep going, to find his way with compact punches like jabs and one-twos. His assistant, however, clicks his tongue in frustration and anxiety. The expert spectator points out the genius in Riku's strategy. He's not just punching. He's cleverly moving around the outside of Hyodo's left foot, creating a dominant angle just like a world champion would. Hyodo realizes the horrifying truth. Riku's footwork was intentional. He's putting real torque into his jabs. Hyodo's own mind screams a warning at him, telling him he has to stop willingly receiving Riku's dangerous punches. Just as Riku throws another jab, Hyodo makes his move, ducking under the punch and slamming a vicious hook into Riku's body, making him gasp in pain. With a crazed and ecstatic look on his face, Hyodo praises the punch he just took. "That was a good punch, Riku," he says before demanding more. "Now gimme the left straight." Hyodo's perception of Riku shifts into a terrifying hallucination. He no longer sees a fighter, but a smiling skeleton, the embodiment of the death and killing intent he has been craving to fight. Answering the twisted invitation, Riku throws the powerful left straight that Hyodo demanded. But this was exactly what Hyodo was waiting for. He slips under the punch with terrifying speed, coiling his body as he prepares to unleash a devastating counter. But as Riku's punch misses, Hyodo pivots and unleashes a devastating counter left hook. Riku's eye widens in disbelief as the blow connects perfectly. The impact sends Riku crashing down to the canvas in a brutal knockdown. Hyodo stands over him, having turned the tables in an instant. With Riku on the mat and his mouthguard flying out, Hyodo's supporters erupt in cheers. One smirks, declaring the fight a done deal, confident that Hyodo has secured the win. The referee begins his count as Riku's corner desperately urges him to get up. Coach Baba watches grimly, wondering if Hyodo only dodged because he was genuinely scared of Riku's left straight. An analytical spectator questions the nature of Hyodo's perfect counter. Was it a pure reflex, or did Riku pressure him so much that he was forced to rely on a risky, desperate move? But even from the floor, Riku isn't finished. He locks eyes with Hyodo and throws a psychological jab of his own, asking, "What's wrong, Hyodo?" Riku presses his mental assault, telling a stunned Hyodo that he looks frightened, just like Riku is. He masterfully turns Hyodo's own mind games back against him. As the round ends, Hyodo is back in his corner. His coach assesses the damage, telling him that the powerful knockdown Riku took to the body earlier must have fractured his ribs. The scene shifts to the break between rounds, the title card reading Chapter 48, just as planned. Riku reassures his corner that everything is fine, explaining that Hyodo hasn't realized the truth of his strategy yet. As his cut is being tended to, Riku's assistant anxiously asks how he'll deal with Hyodo, who still seems to be in good shape. The panel splits, showing both fighters preparing for the next round. A wide shot captures the tense atmosphere in the stadium. With both corners working furiously on their fighters, the crowd waiting in hushed anticipation. In his corner, Hyodo is furious with himself for dodging Riku's left straight on pure reflex. At the same time, Riku confesses to his coach, "I did something really stupid." Riku continues his confession, admitting to his coach that his entire performance so far in the fight has been based on pure reflex, not a conscious strategy. Coach Baba presses him, asking what he learned from Hyodo's reactions. Riku admits that amidst the chaos, he couldn't read his opponent's moves, but he did learn that the punch that knocked him down felt just like the hook from the second round. The ringside press senses that the end is near. The expert spectators ready their cameras, convinced the fight will end in the next round and determined not to miss the knockout shot. Riku gives his coach the crucial piece of information. Despite letting himself get hit, he still couldn't truly read Hyodo's punches. His risky gamble hadn't fully paid off. Riku's assistant panics, urging Baba to stop the fight. He argues that with a likely broken rib, Riku has no chance of winning and fighting on is impossible. He wants to throw in the towel. But Coach Baba remains perfectly calm. He reveals the shocking truth to Riku. Everything that has happened so far has gone exactly according to plan. He explains that injuries don't matter. They just need to be incorporated into the strategy. The assistant is bewildered, asking what plan he's talking about. Baba explains that Riku isn't a theoretical fighter. Instructions must be simple and clear. He then turns to give Riku his final, simple order. As the camera lenses of the press focus in, Baba gives his command for round 3. Use your straight and hit him with all you got in the flow of punches. The bell rings for the third round. Riku takes his stance, his expression one of pure focus. Across the ring, Hyodo's eyes narrow, analyzing his opponent. Hyodo is immediately suspicious. Riku has switched stances, and his right guard is unusually low. He smirks, wondering if Riku is trying to bait him into attacking his head. But Hyodo doesn't take the bait. He throws a punch towards Riku's body, thinking to himself, "Riku, you're a terrible liar." Hyodo reveals that he's seen through the deception. He knows Riku is guarding his body because of the body shot he took earlier. He deduces that Riku has injured his ribcage. With Riku's weakness exposed, Hyodo lunges in for the kill. "You can't avoid me anymore," he yells, throwing a powerful straight punch aimed directly at Riku's injured ribs. The spectators see Hyodo exploiting the injury, but Riku realizes something deeper. He had misjudged Hyodo as a simple fighter, but now sees him as someone desperate to prove his own style, even if it means getting lost in the fight. As he takes a beating, the horrifying truth dawns on Riku. Hyodo saw through his plan from the start. He realizes Hyodo was also letting himself get hit, perhaps to gain the attention of his father figure in the crowd. Their strategies were one and the same. But just because Hyodo saw through the plan doesn't mean Riku is finished. He realizes that in his recklessness, Hyodo has left an opening. Riku seizes the opportunity, changing levels and driving a hard punch straight into Hyodo's now exposed body. An X-ray view shows the brutal impact of Riku's body shot, the force of it cracking Hyodo's ribs. Hyodo's face contorts in a mask of pure agony and shock as he pays the price for leaving himself open. A close-up on Hyodo's eye reflects the image of a determined Riku. Gritting his teeth against the searing pain in his side, Hyodo spits out a spray of blood. With the opening created, Riku follows his coach's simple command. He puts every last ounce of his strength into a final, decisive straight punch that smashes directly into Hyodo's chin. The climactic moment is captured through the lens of a ringside photographer's camera, freezing the perfect, brutal impact of the fight's potential finishing blow. Riku's face is a mask of pure effort and pain as he follows through on the punch, his hair flying back from the sheer force he's putting into this single, final attack. The impact reverbs through Hyodo. His world goes dark as his eyes glaze over, completely stunned and disconnected from the moment. The heavy thunk of the blow echoes in the silence. A close-up on Hyodo's dazed, unfocused eye. His mind struggles to process what just happened, a silent Ichimonman hanging in the air. The crowd roars to life. "He got him," they scream. Miraculously, Hyodo is still on his feet, though wobbling badly. In Riku's corner, they yell, "Not yet," knowing the fight isn't over. Riku is completely spent, wheezing for air and unable to follow up. He has nothing left. His corner team watches, realizing he's pushed himself past his absolute limit. Coach Baba looks on with a knowing, satisfied smile. Baba turns to his anxious assistant. "Didn't you see that?" he asks. Just now, the kid overcame Hyodo. With that declaration, the 5th volume of Rikudou comes to an end. The match between Riku and Hyodo continues, with the question hanging in the air. Has Riku really managed to overcome the formidable Hyodo? From the sidelines, Riku's coach, Takarazawa, and his gym mate, Naeshiro, watch in stunned silence, wondering what on earth Riku just did to turn the tables. Takarazawa understands Riku's daring strategy. He knows Riku is aiming to land an invisible punch to take down Hyodo. Naeshiro, however, is completely lost, questioning what an invisible punch even is, while Riku and Hyodo continue their intense clash in the ring. Takarazawa speaks as if directly to Hyodo, confident that while Naeshiro is clueless, the experienced Hyodo understands the danger he is in. The plan is revealed. Riku intends to use his broken ribcage as bait, luring Hyodo into a false sense of security. But it's a race against time. Takarazawa knows that if Riku doesn't execute his plan quickly, Hyodo's relentless assault will destroy him. With intense focus, Riku visualizes his strategy. He'll take a body blow, inviting Hyodo to step in close to land a straight right punch. The moment Hyodo retracts his arm after the punch, Riku plans to unleash a devastating counterpunch of his own. However, Hyodo smirks. He's seen through the plan, telling Riku he understood his intentions after a previously missed blow. Hyodo calls Riku's bluff, questioning if he should really step in that close. He warns Riku that a clean body blow to his broken ribs could put his life in danger. The scene shifts away from the electrifying match, focusing on a quiet, tense moment elsewhere. A man who appears to be Riku's coach, Takarazawa, is at home, agitated. He's been scratching his hand so much it's bleeding, cursing as he gets blood on the carpet. Lost in thought, Takarazawa sits alone, a cigarette in hand, his mind clearly preoccupied with the ongoing fight. He grimly assumes Riku is getting beaten badly. This triggers a memory of his own title fight against Hyodo's father, where he also took a severe beating. He flashes back to that brutal match against the former lightweight world champion. After one of his opponent's uppercuts, Takarazawa found just one small opening, his only thought being to land a clean punch. Back in the present, the memory of that one single opening is all that Takarazawa can recall from his grueling past fight. His thoughts return to the ring, to Riku. He wonders what his protege can possibly pull off in a similarly desperate situation. As Takarazawa ponders, the action in the ring continues. Riku prepares to unleash a powerful blow, but what kind of punch can he possibly come up with to win? Suddenly, Hyodo's eyes widen in utter shock and disbelief, completely caught off guard by Riku's action. Bakwa, et unet pet mova. In that moment of confusion, a horrifying realization begins to dawn on Hyodo. Riku lands a thunderous blow. The impact is so strange and perfectly timed that it seems to come out of nowhere, creating a divine spectacle in the ring. A ringside observer finally understands. This is the punch that's only invisible to the one on the receiving end. The Phantom Punch, Riku's ultimate technique, a devastating and imperceptible blow, connects perfectly, sending his opponent reeling. As he falls, Hyodo has a strange flashback. He remembers seeing a young Riku practicing this very move, wondering how a mere sea-level fighter could throw a punch reminiscent of the genius Muhammad Ali. From the corner, Takarazawa looks on with grim satisfaction. He tells Riku that he finally brought Hyodo down to his knees, showing him the same humiliating view that Takarazawa himself once experienced. The new chapter begins, titled Not So Good. Hyodo reflects that he didn't understand at the time, but in a past fight, he was easily hit by a punch that was hidden behind his opponent's hand. Back in the present, as the referee starts the count, Hyodo realizes it's the same situation. He didn't see the punch, but his body remembers the impact all too well. From his position on the canvas, the world seems distant. The mat of the ring feels like simple fabric as he looks out past the ropes at the roaring crowd. Struggling back to his feet, Hyodo notices that everyone in the arena is standing, more excited than he's ever seen them. He wryly notes that it has indeed been a while since he was last knocked down. The crowd confirms it wasn't a slip. For the first time, the great Hyodo is truly down. As blood drips from his nose, he tries to clear his head, wondering when the last time this happened could have been. He searches his memory. He has no recollection of ever going down from a body shot inside the ring. The referee's count continues, unheard. He stares at Riku, who is also battered and bleeding. The question echoes in his mind. When was the last time he was in this dire of a situation? The referee orders Riku to a neutral corner. Exhausted, Riku can only think of one thing: Hyodo. The spectators are in an uproar, questioning what that insane counter was. Even Riku himself seems surprised he pulled it off. Meanwhile, Hyodo staggers, admitting he blacked out for a second and that it would be bad if this became a habit. An analyst in the crowd identifies the move not as a punch, but as a fast pull, a feint designed to create an opening. He notes, however, that the risk that comes with such a high-level technique is staggering. He can't understand the minds of these two fighters, these idiots who seem to enjoy the thrill of skating on the thin ice between victory and defeat. There are only 30 seconds left in the round. Both corners are frantic. Riku is urged to down Hyodo one more time for the win, while Hyodo's corner screams at him to run and pull himself together. The damage from Hyodo's body shots finally takes its toll, and Riku violently vomits all over the canvas. The crowd recoils in disgust as Riku retches, the result of a clean hit he took earlier. The vomit splatters onto Hyodo, who stands over him. Hyodo looks down, unfazed, as Riku looks up from the corner, his eyes still burning with fighting spirit despite the agony. Instead of backing away, Hyodo issues a challenge. "Hit me, Riku," he says, a strange intensity in his eyes. "It's fine. Come give me your all." Ignoring his corner's advice, Hyodo walks forward, a smile on his face. Takarazawa seems to communicate with Riku on a deeper level, asking him wordlessly how the situation looks from his perspective, fighter to fighter. Hyodo closes in, looking deep into Riku's eyes. He questions why, for someone with such praised fists, Riku's eyes still seem to be afraid of something. A wide, unnerving grin spreads across Hyodo's face as he asks his final, cutting question, "Why aren't you laughing?" The scene cuts away to a tender memory. A younger, happier Hyodo is in bed with a woman, laughing joyfully as they play around. The scene shifts to a serene memory of Hyodo's home life. His partner, Keed, asks him about working abroad in Thailand. He tells her he won't be going for a while, as he first needs to train a great fighter for a big match. Keed playfully puts him in a headlock, teasing him about being called a genius at his gym and suggesting it might be time to focus on their son. This introduces us to the young boy, Aikido, for the first time, revealing the family man behind the fearsome boxer. His mind drifts back to the quiet moments, a memory of his life outside the ring as he softly speaks her name, Keed. In the flashback, Hyodo confesses to Keed that he wasn't always a great boxer. He reveals that as a gifted child, he was once just a scaredy cat, so overcome by fear that he couldn't even punch back. The scene snaps back to the present. Hyodo compares a boxer like Riku, who seems to enjoy getting punched, to a drunkard, someone chasing a destructive thrill. The bell signals the end of a grueling round 3. As Hyodo registers the stinging pain of a split lip, Riku has a moment of clarity. Hyodo isn't scared of him in the slightest. Looking at the battered but resolute Hyodo, Riku senses a kindred spirit, a shared history of pain. "Hyodo," he thinks, "you were just like me, weren't you?" The focus shifts to a memory of a younger Riku, practicing alone. He speaks to his deceased mentors, Aikido and Yuki, telling them that thanks to their guidance, he's finally able to land powerful body blows. In the memory, Riku relentlessly attacks a sandbag, filled with the determination to punch, just like his idol, the former world champion. The scene transitions to a flashback of a young Hyodo. An answering machine beeps with a message from his coach, Kasahara, asking how his injury is healing and telling him he should come back to the gym soon. The coach's message continues, telling Hyodo he received the handmade medal the juniors made for him. He reassures him that everyone at the gym knows he was the true champion in the title fight against Takarazawa. The story then cuts to Riku, lying on the floor of his apartment after the fight, exhausted and in agony. He stares at the clock, trying to count to distract himself from the pain. Sweating and trembling, Riku loses his count. He gasps that punches to the stomach. They always hurt, the lingering pain a brutal reminder of the battle. Desperate, Riku begins to crawl across the floor. He has a single goal in mind, a place he believes he can find relief. He crawls towards a small memorial shrine in the corner of his room, convinced that if he can just make it there, the pain will finally stop. Having reached his destination, Riku collapses onto a pillow, his hand resting near a framed photograph at the foot of the shrine. The narrative shifts back to Hyodo, looking at a photo of Keed. He reflects on his own mortality, acknowledging that he's heard the rumors about him retiring to open a gym. With grim determination, Hyodo states that he has died twice already. For him, there is no other path to walk anymore but the one he is on. In a brighter memory, Hyodo discusses his future with his staff. He plans to take his coaches with him to his new gym. A colleague then asks if his son, Aikido, will follow in his footsteps as a boxer of the Hyodo family. Hyodo looks at his young son, Aikido. He says that while he could force him into boxing, he will respect whatever his son wants to do, though he does offer him private lessons. The other gym members are thrilled, excited at the prospect of the former world champion personally teaching his son, even if it is just in a playful way. At the Hyodo boxing gym, Aikido trains with his father. He thinks to himself that in this public setting, his daddy isn't scary at all, hinting at a darker side behind closed doors. As he practices his form, Aikido's internal monologue continues, reflecting on the nature of what he is learning at the gym. The terrible truth of Hyodo's past is revealed. Aikido thinks that boxing isn't scary compared to the violence at home, as the panel shows a flashback of young Hyodo beaten to the floor by his own abusive father. Lying on the ground, bloody and terrified, young Hyodo can only focus on one thing: the overwhelming fear of how much it hurts. The memory cuts to young Hyodo lying awake, staring at a photograph. He knows he has to somehow overcome the searing pain from the beatings just to be able to fall asleep. In his pain-fueled delirium, he imagines a gentle hand on his face, wiping away the blood. For a brief, comforting moment, he sees the ghostly image of his mother's smile. His father's cruel words echo in his memory. He tells a young Hyodo not to call his mother so affectionately, coldly stating that she died just so she could give birth to him. Through the haze of pain, a young Hyodo finally understands and accepts his reality. He's not the child his father wanted, and his mother is never coming back to save him. This grim acceptance shaped his entire philosophy. Back in the ring, bloody and battered, Hyodo smiles, for he knows that you only ever die once. And because of that, he wants to die with a smile on his face, challenging Riku to hit him even harder. Sometime after the fight, Hyodo is at home, relaxing in his messy apartment and watching a replay of the match on his television. As he rewatches the moment of the decisive counter, he's still surprised. He marvels at the existence of a punch that allows the recipient to shine, even during a fatal exchange. He recognizes Riku's punch as something his own father never possessed. He realizes that if he can't withstand the punch from Riku, the man who surpassed his father's legacy of violence, then just reaching the top of the world won't be enough to let him die with a smile. Hyodo reflects that the intense feeling he got from fighting Riku is something he'll never experience again if he just keeps fighting ordinary boxers. His eyes fall upon a DVD case titled The Rookie's Glove. Deciding he's bored, he picks up the DVD. The Rookie's Glove, he says to himself. Why not? Let's watch it. The chapter ends on this quiet, contemplative note. The bell is about to ring for the final round. Round 4. Riku Azumi, bruised and battered, stares ahead, a look of disbelief on his face as he processes the situation. Is this really the last round? In the corner, Riku confronts his coach, utterly confused by the instructions he's just been given for the crucial final round. His cornerman is equally bewildered, questioning the coach's strange orders. Riku's coach looks at him grimly, not mincing words. He bluntly tells the young boxer to just give up. The coach explains his reasoning. The cost is too great. Even if Riku manages a miraculous win, he'll be in no shape to continue in the Rookie King tournament. Winning or losing this single match is meaningless if his career ends here. Riku's companion is aghast, unable to believe the coach would say such a thing after they've come so far. The coach's words hang in the air as Riku stares intently at his opponent, Hyodo. After everything he's been through, is he willing to throw it all away? The coach asks him directly. Knowing all this, will he still fight? Sitting on his stool, Riku looks down, defeated for a moment. He apologizes to his coach, struggling to find the right words to express the storm of feelings inside him. But his doubt is fleeting. He looks up, his eyes burning with a renewed, unshakable resolve. He declares that he must, under any circumstances, win against Hyodo. Seeing Riku's determination, his companion notes that the coach must also hold Hyodo in high regard to even suggest forfeiting. The coach seems to be thinking the same, acknowledging the immense challenge they face. The moment of truth arrives. The final round begins. Across the snowy, spotlit ring, Riku and Hyodo face each other for the last time. Riku's corner man thinks he might actually have a chance to win. Meanwhile, the audience murmurs in astonishment, noting that both fighters are barely able to stand, yet they fought with everything they had in the previous rounds. The two boxers are locked in a fierce exchange, their faces a mask of exhaustion and pure willpower as they trade blows. An observer notes that the tide of the fight seems to be turning in Hyodo's favor. They remark that Hyodo is no mere dark horse. He has a true boxer's pedigree, and it seems some strange, hidden switch has just been flipped within him. The scene cuts away from the match to a young woman, Tsubaki, who looks on with a worried and deeply concerned expression. A flashback reveals what she's thinking about, a news report about a Yakuza murder case, showing the face of a young boy, a fourth-grade orphan from the N district of Tokyo. This is Riku's traumatic past. Back in the present, Tsubaki is seen researching the case on a computer. The incident happened 7 years ago, but the archives remain. As she delves into his past, her colleagues in the background whisper for her to be quiet. Tsubaki reflects on Riku's connection to the Yakuza. She thinks about how his obsession with winning and losing, born from his trauma, has made normal happiness an unattainable dream for him. As she wrestles with this thought, another voice, perhaps her own realization or a memory, argues against it. It tells her not to be the one to decide that for him. For Riku, that obsession isn't a choice. He wouldn't be able to live without it. Her thoughts return to the ring, blending her research with the present reality. As Riku throws a powerful punch, her silent prayer is for him to overcome not just Hyodo, but the weight of his entire past. Riku's left fist connects cleanly. Hyodo is stunned, his face contorting from the impact. This could be the decisive blow that ends the match. But the fight isn't over. Fueled by sheer adrenaline, both fighters urge each other on. They decide to surpass their limits together, trading blow after desperate blow in a final, brutal flurry. The crowd is in an uproar, completely mystified. They can't understand what's happening. The boxers should have been exhausted, yet they're moving even faster and hitting harder than they did in the first round. It's an awesome, terrifying spectacle. As Riku lands another punch, he has a moment of clarity. He realizes something profound about his opponent. Riku understands that just like him, Hyodo is fighting with his fists to make his existence known to the world, to scream that he is here. In his opponent, Riku sees a reflection of himself. This realization doesn't stop his attack. As a powerful blow rocks Hyodo's head back, Riku silently acknowledges the immense strength he is up against, and the strength he must now surpass. In that climactic moment, Riku's ultimate motivation crystallizes. Flashes of his traumatic past, intertwined with the desperate cries for Hyodo from the ringside, fuel his desire. He understands now. If he can surpass this powerful opponent, he can finally find what he has been searching for through all the pain and violence. A memory of a past mentor echoes in Riku's mind, telling him to find your own fists. In this moment of brutal clarity, Riku understands. He vows that by surpassing Hyodo, he will finally find what he's been searching for all this time. His own fists, his own identity. The new chapter, titled Breaking Bones, opens with the audience reacting to the unbelievable turn of events. They are in disbelief that Hyodo, the prodigy, is having such a tough time in the fourth round against a relative nobody. The situation has escalated beyond anyone's expectations. The crowd is buzzing with anxiety. People are texting, asking who could possibly win this chaotic fight. Riku's friends watch with concern, wondering if the two boxers will even make it out of the ring in one piece. The two fighters are going all out, throwing full power swings at each other against the ropes. A spectator voices everyone's fear. If they continue at this pace, one of them might actually end up dead. Riku, with a crazed and bloody grin, presses his attack, landing a solid punch on Hyodo's face. As the referee struggles to keep up with the action, Riku relentlessly pummels Hyodo. Even as he attacks, he can't help but acknowledge his opponent's immense strength. An observer notes something incredible. Despite being in the final round, Hyodo isn't wearing down. In fact, the opposite is happening. His form is getting better, more refined. Through this fight, Hyodo is also giving shape to his own fists. Hyodo unleashes a devastating triple hook combination, landing 3 powerful blows in quick succession, sending the crowd into a shocked uproar. In a moment of shared apotheosis, as Hyodo lands his attack, Riku has a revelation. Just as Hyodo found his form, Riku declares internally, "I, too, have found them. I found my own fists." The spectators are stunned. Riku somehow managed to counter in the tiny window between Hyodo's triple hooks. But the effort has taken its toll, and they believe he's at his breaking point. They think he's finished. The fight devolves into a brutal, close-quarters brawl. The two are practically leaning on each other, exchanging punishing blows with no regard for defense. In a perfect, simultaneous exchange of violence, both Riku and Hyodo land devastating cross-counters on each other at the exact same time. The force of the double impact sends Riku flying backward. He's been knocked down hard by the simultaneous blow. The two fighters are shown forehead to forehead, completely exhausted but still trading blows. The wide view from the audience shows the relentless pace of the fight, even as the end seems near. The audience is in disbelief, wondering how they can keep throwing counters in the 4th round. An experienced viewer notes that you rarely see such a long exchange in the corner, where neither can afford a single mistake. Their very lives are on the line. With just over 2 minutes left, the vast arena seems to hold its breath. Riku's friend prays for him to just make it out safely. For the two fighters, these 3 minutes feel as slow as a lifetime. Even the coach grimly notes how time seems to be barely passing. With Riku pushed against the ropes, his coach yells instructions. He has to push forward, get on the inside, or he'll never land the final, decisive blow he's been aiming for. In a close-up, the coach's face is a mask of grim determination. He gives his final, terrible order. To bring this to an end, Riku will have to make some sacrifices. Even Hyodo's corner is shaken. His coach admits his instincts were right, confirming that the sea-level boxer, Riku, is the real deal, far more dangerous than anyone anticipated. From the crowd, a rival boxer watches intently. He remarks that no one would have thought a sea-level fighter could bring Hyodo to a new low. Riku has now become a boxer that even the highest-ranked fighters will be unable to ignore. The rival boxer looks down at the carnage in the ring, musing that this is all well and good. Assuming everything ends well today, hinting at the career-ending damage such a fight can cause. As Riku takes a heavy blow, his coach's voice cuts through the chaos, commanding him to get closer, to get on the inside. Locked in a brutal embrace, both fighters on the verge of collapse, Riku hears the final part of his coach's order, "Sacrifice yourself." Heeding his coach's final, brutal command to go for the kill, Riku abandons all defense. He and Hyodo throw everything into one last, cataclysmic exchange. A sickening pop echoes as both fighters connect in a mutual sacrifice to end their war. The world seems to fade to a silent, distant view of the city streets as the new chapter begins. Count to 10. A single voice from the crowd cuts through the haze, stating the unbelievable. He took a counter. The fight is over. The count has begun. In Riku's corner, his coach and cornerman rush to his side, telling him to stay down. But on the canvas, a small, bloody smile forms on Riku's face. He did it. He actually managed to bring Hyodo down. As he lies on the mat, his mind flashes back to a memory of his first mentor, Takarazawa, a man who saw something in the young, desperate orphan. He remembers Takarazawa's words about someone using his fists, the words that set him on this path. The memory becomes clearer, a young Riku, looking up with wide, determined eyes at the mentor who took him in. He recalls a lesson from Takarazawa, who explained that the key to a knockout is to sever the connection between the brain and the body, a lesson that applies to everyone. Takarazawa taught him that this connection can't be trained. It's protected only by the natural toughness you're born with. If you're weak, a single punch can make you lose consciousness almost immediately. A younger Riku absorbed this harsh lesson. The memory concludes with Takazawa walking away, leaving Riku with the grim proclamation that some things just can't be helped, a fatalistic view that Riku has been fighting his entire life. The memory fades as a desperate scream of "Kid" cuts through the haze. Back in the present, Riku, dazed on the floor, sees his current coach yelling frantically from the corner. Riku, his vision blurry and mind clouded, is confused. What's wrong with the coach? Why is he shouting all of a sudden? Then, the world comes back into focus. He sees his opponent, Hyodo, also lying on the canvas. A wave of triumphant realization washes over him. I see. I have brought Hyodo down. The referee's count reaches 3. Riku, bloody and exhausted, manages to push himself into a seated position, his fight far from over. The referee looks on, stunned, as the announcer screams that neither fighter is standing up. The crowd goes wild at the unbelievable sight of a double knockout. As the count reaches 4, the number finally registers in Riku's concussed mind. He looks out through an eye that has lost its focus, a sign of the serious damage he sustained. The shock hits him. I'm also down. His friend in the audience realizes that Riku was so focused on landing the finishing blow, he didn't even realize he had fallen in the process. From the corner, his team screams encouragement. The coach rationalizes that Riku must have lost consciousness and slipped, while his cornerman yells, "It's not over yet. Get up and you will win, Riku." The count reaches 6. As Riku lies on the mat, the ghost of Takazawa's fatalism, "There are things you just can't help," returns to haunt him, tempting him to give up. But then, through his blurry vision, he sees movement. Hyodo is trying to get up. Riku can't believe it. Hyodo, also on the canvas, is just as shocked. He thinks to himself, I cut off his connection. So why is he moving? He too believed the fight was over. A close-up on Hyodo's eye reveals the same bleak philosophy his old mentor taught Riku. There are things you just can't help. He believes he has reached his natural limit. Hyodo makes a final attempt to rise, but his body gives out. He slips and collapses back onto the mat. Riku's corner man screams in despair, thinking this is the end for both fighters. Lying on the ground, Riku recalls confronting Takazawa. He remembers his mentor's advice not to resent fate, and the question that has haunted him ever since. Back then, you didn't answer me. But why did you? Teach me how to throw a punch? The question hangs in the air as the referee's count hits 7. Why teach him to fight, only to tell him that victory is impossible? Riku argues with the memory of his mentor still on his knees. So, why would I even try to get up when you told me I couldn't possibly win? He looks down, his vision tunneling. He feels that all he can do is stand up. Nothing more. He has reached his absolute physical and mental limit. His consciousness feels like it's floating away from his body. Down below, small and distant, he can see his own exhausted form struggling to get into a fighting stance, moving on pure, primal instinct against the overwhelming darkness. A memory cuts through the fog, his current coach demanding to see the fire in his eyes on the day they first met. That fire was all he had. But now, with nothing left, he asks himself a final question. Why? Why is his body, against all reason, still trying to fight? Against all odds, powered by sheer will, Riku rises to his feet. Hyodo remains on the canvas, unable to beat the count. The referee turns to Riku, the last man standing. Miles away, in a quiet, dark room, Riku's former mentor Takazawa puts out a cigarette. He seems to have sensed the outcome, musing to himself, I wonder if Riku has finally awakened it. The referee raises Riku's arm in victory. Riku lets out a primal scream, a release of all the pain and struggle. Takazawa's voice echoes, acknowledging that Riku has awakened a fighting spirit that surpasses even his own. The winner is Azumi. A new chapter begins, titled People Change. The scene shifts to an office where Tsubaki is finishing up for the night. Her boss, Mr. Baba, is on the phone, struggling to hear a friend who is ecstatically cheering Riku's victory. Tsubaki overhears the news, and her face fills with shock and concern. Riku won, but at what cost? He's been hospitalized. Back at the arena, the winner, Riku, is carried away on a stretcher. Despite his injuries, a triumphant, almost manic grin is plastered on his face. The crowd can only stare, unable to believe what they just witnessed. The press and spectators turn their attention to the defeated Hyodo, still sitting in the ring. They gaze in stunned silence, trying to process the sight of the prodigy's first loss. In his corner, Hyodo quietly assesses the damage to his face. His coach urges him to stay still, reminding him that he only just regained consciousness a couple of minutes ago. A quiet realization dawns on Hyodo. I see. So this is what defeat feels like. In the crowd, his father tries to console him, shouting that it was just a lucky punch and not to worry. With surprising grace, Hyodo leaps from the ring, showing his athleticism is far from broken as a rival looks on. A reporter, Mahara, quickly moves to intercept him, trying to get a comment on the shocking loss. Hyodo kneels down, whether from respect, exhaustion, or a combination of both, as the reporters continue to crowd around him. He looks up, his expression surprisingly calm. I thought it'd bother me more than that, he thinks to himself, as his cornermen urge him not to push himself. The press hounds him, asking if his loss was a result of carelessness. Hyodo calmly deflects them, saying it would be rude to interview him, the loser, before they speak to the winner, Riku. The reporter, Mahara, insists that it doesn't bother her. Hyodo looks at her, considering her persistence. Hyodo touches his bruised face, reflecting. The pain I receive from those punches won't fade. I've shed quite some blood in that fight, he says, acknowledging the physical toll of his first defeat. As Tsubaki walks by, the cameraman asks if she's leaving without talking to Hyodo. He worries that while Hyodo is taking the loss well now, it will haunt him later, especially with his family's boxing legacy. Meanwhile, Hyodo's fans celebrate and call out to him. Tsubaki dismisses the concern coldly. She says there's no need. In her eyes, this loss is the result of Hyodo fooling around, and it will be a good lesson for him about the consequences of carelessness at the top level. She then turns to the cameraman with an intense, serious expression, giving him an urgent task. Show the video of the fight to the coach and burn it to a DVD as soon as possible. A journalist in the crowd reflects on the monumental upset. He never imagined a newcomer would actually defeat the great Hyodo. It's a story that will make for an impressive article. Beside him, a rival boxer watches the scene unfold in silence. The crowd begins to file out of the arena, buzzing with excitement over the incredible match they just witnessed. The announcer's voice echoes through the emptying hall, promoting the next round of the tournament, starring the new giant killer, Riku Azumi. The scene changes, shifting from the chaotic energy of the arena to the sterile quiet of a hospital. Tsubaki arrives, accompanied by two young children from the orphanage. She gently scolds them not to stare as they pass other patients. After greeting a nurse, she asks where she can find Riku. A look of deep-seated worry crosses Tsubaki's face as she finally locates Riku's room. She pauses at the doorway, her mind a swirl of conflicting emotions, relief that he won, but dread for what this brutal victory cost him. Through the door, she sees him staring out the window, already looking toward the future, a future she knows is filled with nothing but more pain. Riku turns from the window, his face a mess of bandages and bruises, but his eyes meet Tsubaki's with a newfound steadiness. For a moment, they just look at each other, the chaotic fight and the quiet hospital room hanging between them. The moment is broken as the children rush to Riku's bedside, pointing out all his bruises. Tsubaki steps forward, offering him some vegetable juice as a get-well-soon gift, trying to bring a sense of normalcy to the scene. Riku is quiet for a moment before reaching out to accept the gift. As their hands meet, he offers a quiet, simple thanks, a small moment of connection in the aftermath of the violence. As their hands touch, Tsubaki freezes. She stares at his hand in shock, noticing something has profoundly changed. The tense, violent atmosphere that had always surrounded Riku's fists, it's disappearing. One of the children innocently asks if he lost, because his face looks so painful. Riku looks down at his own bandaged hands, admitting, "I won, but it hasn't sunk in yet." He is physically and emotionally drained, still processing the victory. He continues, telling Tsubaki that this was the most painful fight he's ever had. Hearing this, a look of dawning comprehension spreads across Tsubaki's face. She begins to understand what has truly changed in him. Riku looks at his fists, which almost seem to glow with a new energy. "I can't really explain it," he confesses, "but I feel like I already want to fight again." Tsubaki's thought concludes in silent shock. Was the very boxing that was tormenting him the source of his trauma, now becoming his salvation? The scene opens at the boxing arena, with a message congratulating the fighters who made it through the third round. It's almost time for the East Japan Rookie King semifinals. A reporter interviews a confident boxer in the ring, asking how he feels. Meanwhile, in the stands, a man in a camo jacket, Coach Samayer, complains that he's about to give up trying to arrange a fight for someone nicknamed Bulldog. Coach Samayer explains that he was thinking of having Bulldog fight in a preliminary match for Tsubasa's title defense, but he can't find anyone willing to fight the guy. In the background, the interviewed boxer playfully tickles the reporter. The camera focuses on the fearsome boxer they're talking about. He has blonde hair and wears a strange visor, and he unnervingly sniffs the reporter's hair. Coach Somayer's associate looks on with a stern expression. The blonde boxer continues to act strangely like a dog. Somayer reveals he even announced a special prize of $10,000, but nobody is taking the offer. Confused by the commotion, he realizes it's finally time for the lightweight match to begin. The stern-faced associate turns to Coach Samayer and asks if he's seen the DVD he gave him 6 weeks ago, the one showing the unknown boxer who defeated Keed. Coach Samayer apologizes, saying he was too busy finding an opponent. In the crowd, the spectators buzz with excitement. They point out that even B-rank boxers couldn't win against Hyodo, and that the rumored Azumi is coming. The announcer's voice booms, calling for the start of the East Japan Rookie King lightweight semifinals. He introduces Riku Azumi of the Baba Boxing Gym. Coach Samayer looks on from the stands, wondering who this C-rank nobody is. The camera closes in on Riku Azumi's determined eye, burning with intensity. Across the stands, the strange blonde boxer with the visor looks over, puzzled by the newcomer. The scene flashes back to the Baba Gym. Riku is shown sparring intensely, his fists a blur as he lands a powerful blow on his partner. Riku's friend, Naoshiro, watches the sparring session with a concerned expression as Riku and his partner exchange a flurry of punches. After practice, Coach Baba talks to Naoshiro. He jokes that since she's not showing up at the gym much anymore, he's been pretty down. He asks if she's working towards her future career, teasing her to take care of Riku once she becomes a lawyer. Naoshiro looks over at Riku, who is still training hard. She asks Coach Baba why he's having Riku skip his upcoming fight, even though he can clearly move so well. In the ring, Riku stops and bows his head, exhausted. Naoshiro observes Riku, noting that even at home, he always has the same serious, intense face. Naoshiro looks on worriedly as Coach Baba tells Riku to stop complaining. The coach explains that a boxer only needs to win 4 times to advance to rank B. Riku seems to understand. A vision of himself holding a championship trophy flashes in his mind, fueling his determination. Riku acknowledges that his frustration is understandable. Coach Baba then changes the subject, telling Riku he got the green light for that job he was hunting for. Coach Baba explains that his friend, the owner of a cleaning company, said he'll take Riku in any time starting next year. Naoshiro looks surprised and concerned by this news. Naoshiro's eyes widen with a mix of relief and happiness. She exclaims, "Riku, you finally found something." Coach Baba tells Riku that with the job, at least he'll be able to eat. But Riku, with his head bowed, declares that he'll keep looking and take up more jobs. The scene shifts to a man named Takarazawa, who is smoking a cigarette. He looks determined as Riku's voiceover finishes his thought. "Anything so I can keep on boxing." Takarazawa walks into a room where his friends are excitedly watching a match on TV. He asks what all the excitement is about. One of them tells him it's an extra special title match from the Samire gym. On the TV, the blonde boxer with the visor is fighting. The friend explains that the gym is offering $10,000 in prize money for anyone who can win against him, as he has 9 wins, all by knockout. They're desperately looking for opponents. On the screen, the blonde boxer Edgardo Gerbera brutally knocks his opponent to the mat with a devastating overhead punch. Takarazawa analyzes the fight with a critical eye. He notes that Gerbera is fighting like a complete amateur, relying purely on raw power and throwing wild swings with no technique whatsoever. Continuing to watch the broadcast, Takarazawa listens as one of his associates suggests he could make some easy pocket money by fighting Gerbera. Gerbera mentions on screen that he's been in Japan for 3 years. On screen, the victorious Edgardo Gerbera smirks, arrogantly asking if they can send him a proper strong opponent already. His stats are displayed. Japanese lightweight division rank 14, with a perfect record of 9 wins, all by KO. Gerbera's disrespectful slang and condescending attitude infuriate Takarazawa's friends, who can't believe his audacity. Takarazawa himself remains silent, a cigarette dangling from his lips as he takes in the scene. Takarazawa declares that he won't fight Gerbera. One of his men leaves, while another comments that it's no wonder as Takarazawa is getting old. Takarazawa looks forward, a smirk on his face, thinking about whether he's truly retired or not as he stares down Gerbera's on-screen image. The scene shifts. Riku and Naeshiro are walking outside the Baba gym at night. Naeshiro asks if he's feeling okay and if he'll manage at his new job. Riku, annoyed, tells her not to treat him like a child. His internal thought reveals that the previously mentioned $10,000 prize money would never be enough. Suddenly, a man with glasses approaches them. With a smug grin, he confirms Riku's identity. So, you are Azumi. Naeshiro looks on, surprised. The man, holding an ornate fan, introduces himself. He says he heard Riku is a boxer living in an institution. Naeshiro asks Riku if he knows this person. Riku's eyes narrow as he recognizes the man. He identifies him as the father of his previous opponent, Hyodo. Hyodo's father leans in with a manipulative smile, holding his fan close to his face as he asks Riku a single, provocative question. Do you want money? He continues his condescending speech, suggesting that Riku must want money, as it's all he can rely on once he leaves the institution. Naeshiro looks shocked and offended by his words. Riku turns to walk away, coldly replying, I'm fine, thanks. Naeshiro angrily wonders what the man's problem is, asking such a rude question right after introducing himself. Hyodo's father reveals his true motive. He wants Riku to fight someone, specifically because he's the one who defeated his son, Keed. Riku looks back, his eyes widening in understanding. Riku, alarmed, asks if something happened to Hyodo, whom he calls Keed, after their fight. Hyodo's father waves his hands dismissively, assuring him that everything's fine and his son isn't injured. The father explains that while his son goes to the gym with a smile, as usual, the defeat crushed him mentally and his moves have lost their edge. He remarks that his son's ability to fake smiles is something no one could hope to match. With a cruel laugh, Hyodo's father mockingly asks, Isn't it funny? He can barely even take a hit. The image of his son getting brutally punched flashes through his mind, and Riku's eye twitches in anger. Riku asks what's wrong with him. Hyodo's father continues, saying that more importantly, the matchmaking is for an undercard fight, implying it's a perfect opportunity. Riku is internally seething, his eye reflecting the image of the cruel father. He can't believe a man would dare talk about his own son in such a disgusting way. Hyodo's father formally makes the offer. He tells Riku he'll have the Samire gym fax the details of his opponent to him, and he can figure out the rest with his coach. He adds that he just wanted to meet face to face, knowing Riku's coach hates him anyway. Changing the subject, Hyodo's father turns his attention to Naeshiro, offering her his business card and asking if she'd like to try being a ring girl. She flatly refuses. He mentions that the opponent is supposed to be the person Takarazawa had the most trouble fighting. As he walks away, Hyodo's father adjusts his glasses and wishes Riku a great fight. Riku watches him go, thinking to himself that the man disgusts him to no end. Later, Hyodo's father gets into a car with his stern-faced associate. He asks his associate for his thoughts on meeting Riku Azumi. The associate, while looking at footage of Riku's fight on a laptop, replies that Riku is definitely a boxer from the Baba Gym, and that he felt Riku was the most mentally hardened of all. The analysis continues, noting that while Riku's ideal weight class would be super featherweight, having him compete in a higher class is a deliberate strategy to strengthen his sense of danger and risk assessment, all to cultivate his crazy left. The associate looks out at the city lights and tells his coach that it would be great if he could set up a fight between two boxers who both possess a killer left. The final panel breaks down Riku's technique, explaining that he adds a twist from his shoulder to his fist, producing an incredibly powerful punch, a left that could leave an opponent unconscious even from a long range. Hyodo's father's associate continues his analysis, explaining that to counter Riku's long-range left, they have pitted him against a hook with amazing centrifugal power, a left that's meant to crush anybody in close range. Back at the Baba Gym, Riku, Naeshiro, and Coach Baba watch the footage of Gerbera. Coach Baba notes that it's a special prize money match, with Hyodo's gym footing the bill. He describes Gerbera as an in-fighter who, unlike Tsubaki, pressures opponents with his killer left. He calls the whole thing a setup. Coach Baba looks at Riku, who seems lost in thought. He asks him directly, "You want to fight?" Riku stares intently at the screen, Gerbera's confident face looking back at him. Riku asks if the coach is asking him. Coach Baba lays out the situation. Their opponent is ranked 14th in Japan. If Riku beats him, he'll get ranked immediately. But because they're offering prize money, it's clear they're just using Riku as bait. Riku stands before the TV, watching Gerbera's image. The words of Hyodo's father echo in his mind, asking him to fight someone since he defeated Keed. Riku clenches his fist, his knuckles turning white. He tells Naeshiro that he doesn't really care about being bait, but he's pissed off now that they're using his fight with Hyodo as their yardstick. With a fire in his eyes, Riku clutches his chest and declares that this feeling, it makes him feel like he has to win. Coach Baba watches, recognizing the look on his face, while Naeshiro looks on with concern. Baba realizes Riku isn't just channeling his anger toward Hyodo's father. Coach Baba correctly identifies the raw emotion driving Riku. Is that pride? Back in the car, Hyodo's father smirks. He tells his associate that Riku will fight, noting that the boy has an even wilder spirit than Takarazawa. The associate adds that his own scar started itching when he saw him. The scene shifts, introducing a completely different side of Edgardo Gerbera. He's in a classroom, happily teaching English to a group of young children. A woman peeks in, asking if he's the one in a DVD, while he tells the kids that beautiful hair is more attractive than boobs. The children gather around Gerbera as he reads a magazine. One asks, "Really?" And he replies with a cheerful "Ifo show." His friendly and gentle demeanor is a stark contrast to his brutal boxing persona. One of the girls gets annoyed, telling Edgardo to stop using slang and teach them normal words. He just smiles and tells her to do as he says, as long as everyone understands that everything's hunky-dory. Gerbera's colleagues discuss him. One thinks it's time to give him a warning about his laid-back attitude, but the other says not to worry. He's only been there 6 months, and the kids like him the most. Meanwhile, Gerbera explains his funny way of talking is because he was surrounded by Southern folk, and now the ladies can't keep their hands off his OL cowboy type. The class bell rings, signaling the end of the lesson. As the children get ready to leave, Gerbera's phone buzzes. He has one new message from Samire. Gerbera reads the message. It's from his manager, Samire, and the subject is untitled. The message is short and direct. "I've found you an opponent." As he says goodbye to his cheerful students, his friendly facade remains. After waving goodbye, Gerbera's expression shifts. A cold, knowing smirk appears on his face as he looks at his phone, the friendly English teacher disappearing in an instant. Back with Riku, he's mentally preparing for the fight. He thinks to himself that a fight driven by emotion and pride, is even better than a regular match. Riku visualizes the upcoming bout, seeing himself facing off against Gerbera. He knows this is his chance. He analyzes his opponent's style. He knows Gerbera has an undeniably strong left and is an in-fighter who steps in. Even though he makes big swings, it's no easy feat to counter them. Riku realizes he might not overcome the pressure unless he fights like an in-fighter himself. Riku understands the immense danger he's facing. He's up against a left that surpasses even Hyodo's punches. Just one opening in his guard, one mistake, could lead to an instant knockout. The scene changes to Riku's classroom. He's fidgeting, clicking his pen over and over, lost in thought. Naoshiro notices his distraction, and even Riku himself is startled by his own repetitive action. Naoshiro approaches his desk as the teacher announces that homeroom is over. Riku is still sketching boxing movements in his notebook, barely registering her presence. The other students are excited, talking about their plans for summer break, which starts the next day. One mentions visiting spooky places with his girlfriend, which another calls a death flag. Riku overhears them, still in his own world. Riku stares at the calendar on the blackboard. Summer break will last until September 1st, followed by summer training camp and the Icon test. His fight is scheduled for the end of September. As Naoshiro waits, he admits to himself that something doesn't feel right this time. Riku reflects on his choice. He had decided to skip out on an opponent he could have fought right away, yet ended up accepting an invitation from Hyodo's father purely due to his emotions. Now, he's finally fighting a ranked boxer. Riku continues to reflect on his past fight. He thinks to himself that he only managed to win against Hyodo by chance, and that Hyodo was a really strong opponent. Naoshiro listens silently as Riku continues his inner monologue, looking at an image of his own battered face after a fight. He wonders, did I get so pissed because he was making fun of him? As they walk down the empty school hallway, Naoshiro calls out to Riku. She reminds him that summer break is starting tomorrow and asks if he's thought about participating in that this year. Riku turns to her on the stairs. She clarifies, asking if he'll join the summer festival at the Institute the day after tomorrow, before he starts his training for the fight. Riku stops, surprised by the invitation. Riku simply replies, sure. He adds that he was already planning on joining, as this will be his final year at the Institute. Naoshiro looks slightly surprised, but relieved by his easy acceptance. As Riku and Naoshiro leave the school grounds, a voice calls out to him. A fellow boxer with a backwards cap, sitting on a wall, says, "There you are, Azumi." Riku is shocked to see the boxer, Mahara, at his school. Mahara playfully teases him, asking if he made up with his girlfriend and calling him a playboy. Mahara gets to the point. He tells Riku there's something he needed to ask that couldn't wait, which is why he showed up. He invites Riku to a joint training camp hosted by a gym preparing for a title match, starting tomorrow for about 5 days. Riku and Naoshiro are both stunned by the sudden invitation. A joint training camp? Riku asks wide-eyed. Mihara explains that Tsubaki will be there, as they're both fighting in the undercard match. About 20 people from other gyms will be coming. Riku is shocked, saying he's never been to a training camp before. Mihara asks, "You shitting me?" Riku explains that it's because he's the only pro at Baba's gym. Mihara, with a cheerful grin, tells him to use this opportunity to make some friends, since they're all boxers after all. Faced with a choice between the camp and the festival, Riku looks down. He starts to say he's got something planned the day after tomorrow, but then quickly changes his mind, saying, not anymore. Naoshiro overhears his decision. She clenches her fist in disappointment, thinking to herself that she couldn't understand boxing, and that all it did was torment Riku. Naoshiro looks at Riku with pleading eyes. She balls her hands into fists and asks, "Riku, why don't you also have some fun while you box?" The scene flashes back. Naoshiro reflects that she's been in the same class with Riku since middle school, and even back then, he was always like this. She recalls how he would definitely doze off after lunch, and that she would often have to wake him up. She says, "Geez, you're not growing up at all." In the flashback, Naeshiro tries to wake Riku by flicking a small object at his head. But even though he seems to be asleep, he instinctively dodges it. She watches in disbelief, realizing he's awake. Or is he? She can't believe he could avoid that while half asleep. Determined, Naeshiro decides she will wake the sleepyhead up. The rare mysterious infighter has shown up. She launches a rapid-fire combo of projectiles at him, thinking to herself that she's learned how to throw combos and is improving. The scene jumps to the present day at the training camp. Riku arrives and is immediately greeted by a large group of boxers. One of them points him out. It's Azumi, the one who defeated Hyodo. Riku looks around at the crowd of unfamiliar faces. Mahara pops up, clowning around and asking if he's looking for Hyodo, joking that he's looking overseas again. Mahara and a few other boxers gather around Riku, telling him not to care about the attention and to just have some fun, though they admit it's actually hard. In a final memory before he left, Naeshiro confronts Riku. She acknowledges his next match is important, but asks about the summer festival, his last one. She pleads with him to enjoy his boxing, too. As Riku and the other boxers wait for the train to the camp, Naeshiro's voice echoes in his mind, asking a crucial question. Your desire to win is not for the money, right? Riku looks ahead with unwavering focus. He thinks of Hyodo's associate, his rival. His inner monologue reveals his true ambition. If he wins, he'll become a Japanese ranker, a better position than the rookie champion title he gave up on. He'd be in a place where the Japanese champion is finally within reach. The chapter concludes with a shot of a bullet train speeding through the city. Riku reflects that there's no easy shortcut, but his chairman's judgment was right. This is the path he must take. The scene shifts to the mountains, where the joint training camp has begun. The first exercise is a grueling run up a steep, leaf-covered hill. The boxers run barefoot up the harsh terrain. One of the coaches explains that every year, the champions of other gyms who come to the training camp lead the group up the hill. The champion, Tsubaki Yoshida, tells Riku that his next match could grant him a rank higher than the All-Japan Rookie King. Riku pushes all his conflicting thoughts aside. With sweat beading on his face, he focuses solely on the task at hand, telling himself to just have fun for today. As the boxers shadowbox while running through the woods, Mahara watches in disbelief. He can't understand how Riku, on his first time here, is keeping up with the champions. He wonders what kind of running routine he has. Riku dashes up the steep slope, his bare feet slipping on the rough ground. He knows that the bad condition of the floor not only helps strengthen his lower body, but also gives him the sense and balance to throw punches. He visualizes his upcoming fight. Against brute force fighters, the match will likely require him to move around the entire ring and use his feet to the fullest. This training, he realizes, is perfect. As Riku keeps pace, Tsubaki observes him. Another boxer notes that Riku is the kid from the $10,000 match. Tsubaki thinks to himself that Riku resembles how he was before he became a champion. Riku, meanwhile, wishes he could spar with Tsubaki, whose arm-twisting punch can stop someone in one strike. Tsubaki continues to watch Riku, who is breathing heavily but still running with incredible intensity. Tsubaki notes that Riku isn't looking at his surroundings. He's a single-minded, stoic person, making a face like he's trying to start a fight with his eyes, even during a running session. Tsubaki is taken aback by Riku's sheer focus and determination, a look of surprise on his face as he runs. Finally, the run is over. The boxers collapse in exhaustion at the top of the mountain path, gasping for air. Mahara and the other boxers are astonished. They can't believe how mature the kid who exchanged fists with Hyodo has become. One of them wonders if it was wrong to invite him to the camp. Just then, a figure appears at the top of the stairs. It's Akira Hyodo. He coolly says Riku's name, Azumi. Mahara and the others are stunned to see him. Riku is equally shocked. Hyodo looks at them and makes a bold, unbelievable claim. I have defeated Tsubaki. Hyodo's declaration hangs in the air. Riku looks on in disbelief, while Mahara is completely floored, wondering what he just heard. He thinks it must have been his doing, but Riku knows it wasn't. From a distance, Tsubaki overhears Hyodo's shocking claim. His friendly demeanor vanishes, replaced by a hard, serious expression. He turns to the boxer who invited Riku, clarifying that it was Tsubaki himself who told him to invite Riku. Riku looks on, wide-eyed and confused, as Tsubaki approaches. Mahara and the others watch as Tsubaki asks Riku, "Want to come down and do it?" He's challenging him to a spar. The challenge is accepted. Riku stares at Tsubaki, processing what just happened. To the surprise of everyone, he smiles. Mahara and Naoshiro, watching from the side, realize he's smiling, that he's actually having fun. That night, the gym building looms under the dark sky. The question hangs in the air. In a spar with the champion, can Riku really do anything against him? A coach speaks with Tsubaki, asking him to let him know if what works. Tsubaki, looking down at the ring, simply replies, "Yes, I'll let you know if it works." In the ring, Riku and Tsubaki face off, both wearing headgear. The other boxers watch from the sidelines. Riku thinks to himself that this is a good sparring match, a chance to know if he's getting close to the OPBF level. Tsubaki looks at Riku with cold intensity and says, "Let's go." Riku meets his gaze, silent and focused. The two champions touch gloves, the spar officially beginning. The boxers watching are confused. They gossip about what Tsubaki told his opponent, wondering why he's sparring Riku. One explains that Tsubaki is fired up because Riku has a similar fighting style to his next opponent. The reflection of Tsubaki appears in an onlooker's eye. Riku is also confused. He doesn't understand why the champion chose him for a sparring partner, especially since their eyes only met for an instant that day. Riku doesn't know the extent of Tsubaki's strength, the same man who said that winning the OPBF had no value. But his intuition is telling him something as he faces the champion. The spar begins, and Riku is immediately overwhelmed. His intuition was right. As Tsubaki unleashes a flurry of blows, Riku has a shocking realization. This man is stronger than Hyodo. Riku attempts to fight back, throwing his jabs, but Tsubaki effortlessly weaves through them. The champion is on a completely different level. Tsubaki lands a clean, powerful punch. The onlookers, including Mahara, watch in horror. Mahara shouts that this is crazy, that Azumi is getting wrecked. Riku feels the crushing power of the champion's right fist, the fist of the man standing at the top of Japan. Tsubaki looks down on him with cold, calculating eyes. The onslaught is relentless. Tsubaki corners Riku against the ropes, giving him no room to breathe or counter. The other boxers are in an uproar. Mihara demands to know who gave permission for such a serious, one-sided sparring match. He screams Riku's name as Tsubaki lands another brutal hit, snapping Riku's head back. Tsubaki sees his chance. He knew this would happen. Riku is bloodied and battered, but somehow he's still on his feet. The coaches and onlookers scream for them to stop the fight, but Tsubaki ignores them, continuing his savage assault and sending Riku flying across the ring. But even in this desperate situation, Riku's instincts take over. He manages to land a clean counterpunch right on Tsubaki's chin. Tsubaki is momentarily stunned. He realizes with a grimace that it's just Riku's senses, but somehow he's keeping up with the champion's speed. They exchange blows in the center of the ring, a furious back and forth. For a moment, Riku seems to be matching the champion. But it's not enough. Riku's body can't keep up with the champion's relentless power. Tsubaki lands a final, devastating blow that sends Riku's headgear flying as he's knocked to the canvas. Tsubaki looks down, a mark visible under his own eye from Riku's counter. Tsubaki stands over the defeated Riku. As the other boxers look on in shock, he gives Riku an ultimatum. He tells him that before he fights a foreigner, if he wants to make his valuable hands useful, he should change to super featherweight and come to the Hyodo gym.